Hi, this is Swapnil Bhartiya and welcome to TFiR Newsroom. And today we have with us Abby Kearns. Now you're CTO of Puppet. So first of all, Abby, good to see you again. But you have changed your role, you have changed your career. So I'm curious, why you made this move. Talk a bit about that.
I got so sucked into the potential and the work that Puppet was doing, and I had a chance to spend time with Yvonne, the CEO, last year, and early last year I joined the product advisory board and really got a up and close look at what Puppet was doing with the products, the technology, the portfolio, and I got a chance to spend time with the team and was just blown away. And that really led to more conversations around what else could Puppet be doing and where, why doesn't Puppet get what I think is the conversation I don't think Puppet gets enough credit for the work that one has done, really starting and pushing and promoting the DevOps movement, but the work that it continues to do with the biggest enterprises around the world. And I just got excited about what Puppet was doing, and when the opportunity came, I jumped at it.
What really, you did touch upon a few things, but core technical point of view, what really drew you towards Puppet?
Honestly, the team at Puppet is amazing. It is, some of the finest people I've ever seen, all assembled in one company. That was first, was just really the quality of the people at Puppet. And the second, the technology. It's just an amazing technology. It ticks all of the boxes. It's stable, it's secure, it's scalable. It continues to solve some of the most complex problems for the biggest enterprises around the world. And it exists today. And I think nearly 80% of the Global 5,000 are running Puppet in some form. And it's continuing to solve really interesting problems. So for me, those were the really big drivers, because I've spent my entire career in enterprise infrastructure, and I continue to be enamored by what it's doing and where it's going and the role that it plays, because I think enterprises are solving some of the biggest, most complex technology problems out there. And so getting to work at a company that is powering that was just really exciting. And I couldn't pass up an opportunity to spend time with more of the enterprise companies around the world, but also really helming the product that is front and center for those companies.
When you were at Cloud Foundry, we talked about diversity a lot. And if I look at Puppet, your CEO is also your one female. So how much role did that play? And will you continue that here as well?
We've talked about this so many times, Swapnil. Diversity is important to me, and not just because I would like to see broader representation around the table, but because I think it is how technology fundamentally moves forward and solves real problems. And so having diverse perspectives around the table at every level is deeply important to me. And I won't lie, the idea of working for a female CEO was really part of the charm and really drew me into the company. And the fact that 3 of the 7 people that sit on the board of directors are women. And, the leadership team throughout the company, there are a lot of women, and diversity and inclusivity and equity are deeply important for the company at large. And so that was, definitely one of the criteria as I looked at Puppet more closely, but just seeing it really lived and breathed everywhere and seeing a continuation of my values really embodied at Puppet was part of the reason I really jumped on it.
In your role as CTO, what all will you do? Because I think they already have a CTO. So how are you kind of deciding, that this is my role?
We're going to focus on different things. I'm going to come in and really work on the vision and the strategy for the company and really spend a lot of time talking to customers, but also to press people like yourself and analysts and telling the story. Whereas Deepak is going to continue to focus on a lot of the R&D efforts that are happening and some of the emergent innovations that are happening. Deepak is leading that. And so I think it's, from my perspective, the differentiation of roles and responsibilities are quite clear. And it's one of those where 2 is actually better than 1 because it allows us to not compartmentalize so much, but split our focus in areas that are both deeply important to the future of Puppet, and bringing what our skill sets are. Like, Deepak is much better at driving a lot of those initiatives than I am. And, I really like to do a lot of the strategy work, and I like to be front and center and talking about the company publicly. And so it was, it's like peanut butter and jelly.
So if I'm not wrong, you'll be more or less like the public facing phase, and he will work more on the internal. Is that correct? Kind of the
Yes.
role? Okay, perfect. Based on your past experience, what kind of strategy you are planning to build? It's too early, but still, what vision, what strategy do you have for Puppet based on your existing experience?
I think we're still working on some of the finer points of it, but I will say that, Puppet has an amazing technology, starting with, its flagship product, Puppet Enterprise, but also the breadth of the portfolio around that I think it really continues to be a cornerstone for enterprises. And so, what I'd like to see is for, Puppet to be the technology that the Global 5000 use today as a core part of managing their infrastructure, but is on them, is with them on the entirety of their journey to the cloud. And so that's where, more broadly, that's where I think Puppet can play quite well. The technology supports it today, and the innovation that's coming. We have some announcements coming later this summer around new products and new capabilities that I think are just going to continue to extend that story. But I absolutely think that the technology that exists today within Puppet, the portfolio, but also where we're going, is really going to lend to customers, supporting enterprise customers where they are today, but also where they want to go in the future.
Will there be a slight change in their strategy or position of the company, or it will be evolution?
I think all strategy should be evolutionary, just because you don't really want to disrupt the magic that exists today, right? So it should be more evolution around, hey, where we're going and how we're going to be on that journey with our customers, as opposed to some harsh turn into something brand new. I think there is so much great with what Puppet has today. And I think if we just talked about the things we could do today, it's an amazing story. And all of the capabilities that exist are really, honestly, the more I learned about them, I'm like, how do more people not know about all of this and how all this works and the problems it solves and how the problems it solves at scale, which, as we all know, for those of us that spent time in enterprise infrastructure, is really complicated. And with the way enterprises are changing and how quickly they're changing and how quickly the technology is changing around all of that. If you look at the rise of and the innovation that's happening in infrastructure around open source, it's changing quickly. And the fact that there is a technology at the center of this that can help customers navigate it is just super powerful.
Talk about some of the things that are exciting that is happening there at Puppet.
Puppet Enterprise is a really fantastic technology, and the level of clarity it provides to our customers around managing infrastructure as code and really getting control and automating as much of that management is super powerful. And then you look at the addition of capabilities in the compliance space. We've got some technologies that are out in the field right now in alpha around compliance and really starting to get a handle on security and compliance for customers that are trying to figure out how to manage their infrastructure and starting to tie all of these things together. Those are areas that we're focusing on right now. And then later this summer, you and I will catch up again, and I'll talk a little bit about our newest release that's coming out that I can't talk about right now, but I'm actually real excited as we start to think about, the role Puppet plays in the cloud native world as well.
Yeah, I look forward to that. While we're talking, we cannot not talk about the current crisis that we are going through, the coronavirus thing. It's going to change the way we build infrastructure. It's going to disrupt, a lot of things, which, it's an unfortunate situation, but, a lot of positive things will happen there, which will, a lot of companies, we used to talk about, hey, digital transformation, move to the cloud. Suddenly that's an urgency they should be. How will that affect? It's too, as I said, it's not the right time to talk about that, but how will it change the market, the landscape, the open source world?
I think it will really push it to continuously evolve more quickly. organizations that were starting to think about digital transformation or were starting to prioritize digital transformation have really, over the last 60 days, realized the urgency, and not just digital transformation, but automation. How to really drive a lot more of the automation so that you are either doing more with the same number of people. So really figuring out how you can start to scale more and drive more support, but also how do you move workloads to the cloud? I think it's still a little early to see what that movement looks like over the next 60, 90, 120 days. But I do think it's changing. It's changing the way we work, and it's changing the way enterprises think about the technology that supports their outcomes. And I'm eager to see what it does and what the impact it has. For Puppet, a lot of the conversation is really around enabling our customers to continue to get the most and maximize the value out of our infrastructure automation capabilities. But it'll be really interesting to see what the impacts are on the industry at large. If it does accelerate, and what does that acceleration look like? Because you and I have talked about this a lot. The technology is definitely part of it, but there's also that culture piece that comes along with it. And can organizations really capture that capabilities and support their teams through that transition quickly enough as well?
Abby, thank you so much for taking time out and talking to me today. We still have to find a new name for you. I used to call you Queen of the Cloud. You have to find a new title for you. But, jokes apart, thank you once again. And I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you.
Same here. Thank you for having me.